Holes. If you have trypophobia, you may want to skip this one. Or face your fears together. I don't like holes either. I'm diving in. Let's do it. Off the coast of Big Sur, California, which is a real place and not just a Mac update, a survey revealed about 15,000 holes on the bottom of the ocean, and they're all the same size, which is weird. They all measure up to be 11 meters wide and 1 meter deep. The team at Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, our friends, they found about 15,000 of these, and then they found 5,000 more that were even bigger. The little guys are micro depressions in the earth, and the big ones are pockmarks. Initially, scientists here thought that it was methane underneath the seafloor coming out to say hi and, you know, leaving a big crater, big poof. So rovers went down there, tests were done, no methane. In fact, there hasn't even been any methane for 50,000 years. So what's going on here? These craters are doing a pretty good job with the ecosystem though, wildly, because now there's deep sea creatures just living in them. They even found a whale skull just laying in one. Imagine being a crab, coming home to that. I throw up. I go, blunk, little bubble of puke in the ocean. Number 4, MV Derbyshire. This ship was twice the size of the Titanic, but
here's one thing you need to do before buying anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon until you watch this first. Watch this. I can show you how to get the sweetest deals online when you shop from major retailers like Amazon and Target. You can drop prices automatically. I can show you how, but I can't do it for you. People are saving real money doing this.
James Cameron didn't make a movie about it, so you may not have heard about it. Let me fill you in. I'm not James Cameron, but I'll do my best. The MV Derbyshire was the biggest British registered merchant ship of all time to sink. That's an odd brag when you think about it. But she was assembled back in 1976 and lost in 1980 en route from Canada to Japan. A Mayday distress call was never issued, and the ship was following proper ocean routes with weather routing companies, so they were doing all the right things, yet somehow it sank. September 15th, 1980, a search began for the missing ship and crew, but 6 days later, the search was called off. Nothing was found, not even a clue, honestly. The ship was declared lost. The sister ship of the Derbyshire ended up sinking as well due to a deck cracking, so the families urged officials to search again. Come 1994, the Derbyshire was found. Number 3, a huge squid. I'll talk about this thing every chance I get. I hope you haven't seen or heard about this because I slept a lot better the less I knew, honestly. The big Finn Squid, the BFS, the big squid, is rarely seen, hence why it's on our list here today. It actually lurks in many oceans hiding in the deep. The big Finn squid lives in the permanent dark zones of the ocean around 1,200 meters or 4,000 feet deep in the sea. So the guy can't see anything. He's blind down there, as are most of these monsters. On November 11th, 2007, an ROV was searching around the deepest, darkest waters in the Gulf of Mexico, and lucky for us, they got one on film. Yeah, 23 feet long. I know you're probably wondering as soon as you saw that video. Depth perception is like, oh, maybe it's small, maybe it's this. Nope, stupidly large. They look like balloons, scary, haunting balloons, just casually floating, watching you. I hate how calm it looks too. It looks like it locked onto you, like it's like kind of following your moves. Is this a boss battle? This feels like a boss battle. Let's move on. This guy's scary. Number 2, Seona Fores. Seona Fores. Okay, where do I even begin? This is a real thing.
Oh shit, man, my mic was on, bro.
Upon first glance, this appears to be a single multicellular organism, but they're actually an entire colony of polyps and medusoids that are collectively known as a zooid. Yep, I'm saying real words, I'm not just making them up. A few years ago, scientists found the longest Seona Fores ever. They found it and it was 154 feet long. If you thought that last creature was long, this thing is stupid.
Yeah, I was talking my shit, y'all, and y'all couldn't even hear me. And I forgot to turn my mic off before I close out my last one, but we back, y'all. Just a little minor hiccups.
Long piece of spaghetti just floating around in the ocean, but really it's actually not spaghetti. It's a bunch of different little creatures all working together. Reading up about this thing, there was a quote that I read and it said, "We at least need to know what's down there." No, we don't. Leave it alone. Leave everything, leave it alone down there. I can't even deal with a spider in the apartment. Where do I even begin with this? And finally, number 1, an ancient city. We'll end this list with a recent discovery.
No, this thing ain't done, bro.
City
This
of Heraclean was found after disappearing under the Mediterranean Sea 1,200 years ago.
And we
now,
only
this city
26,
has a bit of history behind it,
into
you know, being founded in the 8th century BC and all. And researchers believe Heraclean was the port that you'd arrive in if you were to travel back then. Well, recently, last summer in 2021, more to this ancient sunken city was found in Egypt, and it's changing history, dare I say. This was led by the European Institute for Underwater Archaeology. This sunken military vessel, this 25-meter ship, was found in this sunken ancient city. In another part of this lost city, remains of a Greek funerary area was also discovered, dating back to around the 4th century BC. So this discovery connects the historical dots for us. Greek merchants living in the ancient Egyptian city. This tells us that the Greeks settled here during the late Pharaoh dynasties, which is wild. We're literally just connecting all these pieces of this historical puzzle.
Bro, yeah, I think people actually did that. You know, these little writings. I think the little great people did it.
And also we're finding treasure at the same time, so it's not all scary fish. We just need to send cameras and submarines underwater everywhere and just check under every shell. What a wild list this was.
Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have mass extinction. Paleontologists have been able to identify 5 different points in the history of the Earth where they believe
Bro, nobody don't care, bro.
there have been mass extinctions where many, or sometimes even most, species were eliminated. Not only does this make me wonder what the Earth looked like in all of its different stages, but it also makes me question when the next one is going to be. As it turns out, however, we might currently be in the midst of one. In the past, the reasons for these mass extinctions have been things like asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, changes in the atmosphere, but this time it might be something different. According to biologists today, we are in the middle of the 6th mass extinction, and it started with mastodons being some of the earliest victims. From there, as the early humans moved from continent to continent, large animals that had been there and thriving for millions of years began to suddenly disappear. After the mastodons, it was the giant kangaroos in Australia, then the dwarf elephants in Europe, and the list just continues on. What is the common denominator in all of these? Well, humans, of course. Humans are driving this modern extinction with our habits of hunting, destroying habitats, introducing invasive species that throw delicate ecosystems off balance, and of course, spreading disease. This is of course of concern to scientists because who knows what our world will look like on the other end of things. I mean, as if we don't pollute the Earth enough, Elon Musk is now polluting our sky and our orbit, so who knows what's next and who knows when we'll stop. In our number 9 spot today, we have dark energy. Astronomer Edwin Hubble, whom the Hubble telescope is named after, in the 1920s made the discovery that the universe is not static, and it is in fact actually expanding. He was studying a supernova when he realized that the universe was not only expanding, but was expanding at a much higher rate now than it was a long time ago. This discovery was groundbreaking because prior to it, scientists believed that the gravity of matter would end up at least slowing the expansion of the universe, if not cause it to contract. Since this switched up everyone's way of thinking so much, there then began to be the debated topic of dark energy. This is the idea that there is an inexplicable force that is pulling the cosmos apart at speeds that are only increasing. Dark energy is said to make up 73% of the universe, but we still haven't been able to pin it down and directly detect it. Basically what I'm saying is we're pretty sure it's there, but we have no idea what it is, so that's a little terrifying. In our number 8 spot today, we have our brains.
Our
brains aren't
brains.
really ours, no matter how much we'd like to
No,
pretend
they
they
are ours.
Perhaps that
What's she
sounds
talking about, bro? Y'all hear her? Y'all hear Olivia, bro? She's saying our brains aren't really our brains. Well, whose is it then? Is this in our head, right? I use that bitch. It belong to me, right? To somebody tell that bitch, and then it's no longer mine, right? She tripping.
sounds a little more daunting than it actually
Let's
is,
listen
but
to
what
her.
I mean is that a lot of our behaviors, our emotions, and our beliefs are influenced by factors we don't even realize.
Bet.
It's like how everyone is happier when the weather is nice and sunny. Even if it's still cold, Canada, just a cloud-free
No,
day
you ain't
changes
that far,
a lot.
sis. You just
Or like
right on the
how
other
when doing
side
a
of me. It
taste
gets
test,
cold over
you're
here
more
too.
likely to prefer whatever the very first thing you tried is, even if the rest of the samples are exactly the same. Or like how a sneaky salesman simply gently nodding up and down to you while asking a question might make you more inclined to say yes to whatever deal they're offering you. You think you know why you're attracted to someone, but there's a chance it might actually just be their smell. Our memories aren't nearly as good as we think they are, and we often remember things incorrectly, even if we swear it's right. We misinterpret information all of the time based on our biases and our own preconceptions. We make generalizations that aren't right. What I'm trying to say is that what we think is reality is actually just our own reality that we've created in some ways. Perhaps this is just a biological mystery, but perhaps this means something larger. I mean, while this is a part of what makes life and makes interpersonal relationships interesting, there could be some more serious implications about this. Whether it's a judge or jury, a doctor's misdiagnosis, or about 100 other things that I could think of, this is something that could be and likely is quite problematic, especially since it's something we don't discuss very often. In our number 7 spot today, we have age. How old can humans possibly age? It's an age-old question, literally.
Shit, some people done live damn near to 100. Shit, unless you talking about, living a past life. You got one life, then you pass away, then you come back as another person. But that's reincarnation. Nah, I ain't even gonna get into that. Let's
decades,
just go.
the average human lifespan has risen, and it's seen an exponential rise in the last few centuries. For example, the global life expectancy at birth average for the 19th century was between 28.5 years to 32 years old. That would mean in the 1800s,
Shit, niggas in Cali ain't supposed to make it past the age of 19. That's if you stay in Cali and you don't get the fuck out of there. If you stay in Cali, you probably ain't gonna make it past there. You might get lucky, and then on the other hand, you might not get lucky because you'll live, but you'll be in jail. You know what I mean, yeah, shit crazy.
Less than 10 years left. I'm basically a grandmother at this point. In our day and age, I have to listen to people way older than me tell me how little I know and how young and dumb I am. Here's where this leads to an interesting question. What is the oldest age a human can possibly reach? Is there a person who is alive right now who's going to be the first person to reach 150? Could people realistically live into their
That's crazy. Never heard of nobody living to 150. 100. I think even the royal queen, what did she die at? She was like, what, 100 years old, I believe? Yeah, boy, I don't know. If somebody live 150 years, man, shit. Before they die, they need to get a next generation of sauce, man. That's so, you know what I mean? So they can just keep on going, bro. Just keep on going.
2nd century? And if so, what are the medical implications of this? Like, if someone lived into their 60s in the 1800s, that would have likely been a way older looking and feeling 60 than what 60 years old is to us now, right? The technology and medicine to make this happen and extend the human lifespan is probably already in development, but if it becomes a possibility, this leaves a lot of unsettling questions.
But then she did make a point, because it would though if they made it that long. But then we gotta think, bro, how those guys lived, back in those days, and like the old west, the Wild Wild West days and shit, bro. Like, you had niggas that was 19 looking like they were older than what they were. You know what I mean? Like, fuck. Look, when I watched fucking Young Guns, hell, I thought Billy the Kid was older than what the hell he was, boy. Oh, man, but, yeah. I ain't gonna keep rambling.
And those
Let's
are
get
the
back to
things
it.
scientists are already looking ahead at. In our number 6 spot today, we have dark matter. Okay, if dark energy and all the mysteries it holds weren't enough, now we've got dark matter to talk about, and I'm sorry, but there's no more answers with this one. In the 1960s and the 1970s, scientists began to hypothesize that there might be more mass in the universe than we can see. After this, an astronomer at the Carnegie Institute of Washington named Vera Rubin was studying the speed of stars at different locations within galaxies. What she found was that there was essentially no difference in the velocity of the stars, whether they were closer to the center of the galaxy or further out. This was an interesting discovery because that defied the most basic laws of physics, right? Like, applying what we knew at that point, it would have made more sense for the stars on the outskirts of the galaxy to orbit more slowly than those at the center. In order to explain this, astronomers began discussing the phenomena of dark matter. It can't be seen, but it has a mass, which is how it's able to be detective, because it exerts some sort of gravitational pull on regular matter. Dark matter makes up 23% of the universe, and if you remember from before, dark energy accounts for 73%, so that leaves us with a whopping 4% of matter that we understand better and know more about, which is matter like humans, planets, stars, that sort of thing. The other 96% of what the universe is made of is one of space's greatest mysteries, and that's a kind of terrifying thought, right? We have no idea what everything else is made up of. That's insane. In our number 5 spot today, we have Alzheimer's research. Many of us are familiar with Alzheimer's, but if you don't know, it's a neurodegenerative disease that causes dementia, and despite decades of research, there currently isn't a treatment for it that has been found to be highly effective. For a long time, there was a theory that suggested that Alzheimer's would
probably come 2059 or some shit, bro. I think they'll probably just be coming on the cusp of coming up with a cure for dementia, hopefully. Shit, we all just gonna go through it, man. Hopefully somebody come along and come up with a cure for that shit. That shit gotta be messed up, bro. Not knowing who your loved ones is, you know how that probably makes somebody feel, bro. They people don't, they mom, they dad, they auntie, they grandma, whoever, don't know who they is, bro. You been around them all your life, man. That probably hit me to the core, boy.
Was actually caused by a pileup of protein called amyloids, which then creates a plaque in the brain. But because of the fact that treatments that are used to help clear the amyloids don't seem to work very well in terms of combating the disease, it is thought that now this might have been an incorrect theory. Researchers now think that their attention is better focused on other potential causes like viral infections. Now people think and are concerned that all of the research of Alzheimer's might have been focused too much on that one theory, which has set the research back and cost them valuable time. This might be true, and hopefully one day when we do learn about how to effectively combat the disease, we'll understand just how much of a waste it really was or wasn't. But I also think that when it comes to medical research, is any of it really waste? I mean, knowing what is not causing it is definitely a step in the direction of finding out what is causing it.
Do you look at a gorgeous woman and immediately you think to yourself, no, this woman
Shut
is
the
out
fuck
of
up, lady.
She's unattainable. The
Shit,
average
nobody
middle-
don't care, bro.
In our number 4 spot today, we have bacteria resistance. There are an array of antibiotics and vaccines that have been created that have not only helped us survive as a human race, but have also improved our quality and length of life. This is all amazing and truly helpful, but the scientists who study things like this also made a scary discovery that while these treatments are doing great work, there are some microbes who are working just as hard, and they might be evolving faster than we can fight them. This is why the flu shot is created yearly, as the previous shot is ineffective against the next year's bug, or why hospitals are—
Bro, y'all know I have never had the blue shot, ever. I didn't even get it when I was younger. Never got the blue shot.
seeing some people have a simple cut turn into a potentially limb or even life-threatening situation because of antibiotic-resistant staph bacteria, or how there are illnesses jumping from animals to humans, or even how tuberculosis is seemingly making a comeback. These kinds of discoveries are extremely important because it helps us calculate next steps, but it's also incredibly frightening because while we might still be ahead for now, how long is that gonna last? There's a chance that the bacteria is going to catch up to us and we won't be able to get back ahead of it. And remember how we were talking about how low the average lifespan was not that long ago? Yeah, well, we can thank antibiotics in part for helping us expand that, and you can infer what would happen if the bacteria overcame our medical advancements. We'd all die. That's what I'm saying. In our number 3 spot today, we have ball lightning. Okay, I'd never heard of this before, and now I am simply dying to see it. But truthfully, I probably never will. For the last millennia, apparently there are some people who are telling stories about these mysterious balls of light that glow and crackle and basically hover there creepily during thunderstorms. Yeah, I want to see a glowing orb. I am so jealous. These glowing balls have been seen by people in their homes, on airplanes. Apparently some have even seen them passing through windows. While my first thought is of course aliens. I mean, a thunderstorm seems like a perfect time for them to visit. Scientists think that these ball lightning are actually more terrestrial than I'm thinking. But despite that, they are the most mysterious weather phenomena on the planet. Ball lightning usually only appears for a few seconds, but here's the thing. It's impossible to predict when and where it will show up. You don't choose ball lightning. Ball lightning chooses you. It's quite rare, but people and scientists alike have experienced it. It's been attempted to be created in labs, but no one can figure out the...
I seen some shit a couple nights ago going to work, but okay, I think that might have just been fucking shooting star, because I seen it, and by the time I seen it, that shit was gone already.
Exact formula that creates it, so I'm gonna continue on with my original theory of aliens. In our number 2 spot today, we have, how will the universe end? Perhaps it's a morbid question, but it's a good one. I mean, all good things must come to an end, and that might include the universe itself, but maybe it doesn't? I mean, we don't know. There are theories such as the Big Crunch, which suggests that the expansion of the universe, which has been ongoing since the Big Bang, will eventually slow to a stop, and then the universe will give way to the force of gravity, essentially just pulling everything. Planets, galaxies, all of it into a single dense point until everything is just wiped out. There are other theories out there such as the Big Freeze, the Big Bounce, or the Big Rip, which sounds the most terrifying of them all, although I'm not particularly interested in any of these options so far. The good news is that this is all billions and billions of years away, so we won't be around to find out regardless. But when it does happen, it'll be a pretty spectacular event. Or maybe by that time the human lifespan will be so long that we will be around to check it out. Wouldn't that be a spectacular event?
No, I don't want to be around that long, because a little bit of something before that, I think this might be the same shit she's talking about, because I kind of wasn't paying attention there for a minute, but shit, they say once civilized, you know what I mean, once we're all dead and gone, bro, this world gonna heat up like a microwave and just torch fucking everything else is left, boy. The core just gonna go. You know, it's just gonna be like a microwave roasting everything. And if any human is still alive, shit, they gonna suffer a horrible, horrible death, bro.
I think I'd want to live for billions of years though. In our number 1 spot today, we have slime mold. No, we are not talking about looking up slime tutorials on YouTube. We're talking about the strangely intelligent slime mold, more particularly asking, how is that stuff so smart? Basically, they are single-celled organisms, but they, and by they I mean many individual slime mold cells, can all fuse themselves together into one big mass that's capable of thinking? I put a question mark on that because I'm not sure if that's the right word, but I don't know what else you could call it. These masses can solve mazes, they can make risk versus reward decisions, and there's some evidence that suggests that slime mold just might be able to keep track of time. I have absolutely zero idea what tests could reveal that mold has some sort of internal clock, but it's said to exist. The reason this is so intriguing and captivating to scientists is because all of this is happening with no brain present. Not even a single brain cell. I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. However the slime mold is able to do this, it means that it has evolved in a way that is completely different from humans, which is a bewitching idea that leaves us both fascinated and kind of confused. How do they do this? What can this teach us about intelligence? And honestly, how does this even happen if there's no brain? What is responsible for the ability to make these kinds of decisions?
At number 10, we have how the universe started. I mean, we have our
up, soul
theories
brother?
as to how it all came to
My
be.
Canadian
Dr.
soul
Manhattan was
brother.
created in another timeline, and then then he created our timeline because he was so bored and wanted to watch an entire universe develop. Either that or the Big Bang. The idea that everything in existence came out of one singular moment, that there was nothing and then boom, everything shot out of one point and existence spread across the universe. Now this is the most favorable idea of how it all started, but no one was there to see it, so the best we got are theories. And even if this theory is true, what was there before this all kicked off? Was it a massive void of nothingness? If this is true, what caused the Big Bang? Was there a universe before this one that maybe collapsed onto itself and got so condensed it had to explode outwards and spread across everything? If so, which universe are we and why does it keep doing this? This whole thing makes my head hurt a little bit and feel like life is pointless. And guys, make sure you hit that like button because it really helps us out. Coming in at number 9, we have the Bone Lake. There have been mass graves found all over the world, and usually they bring up some sort of questions as to why all these people died in the same place. And with the Bone Lake, also known as Skeleton Lake, the tale is no different. To find this place, you need to head 16,000 feet above sea level. It's located in the Himalayas. The lake is fresh water and fills up with the melting snow that comes down from the mountain, but when winter rolls around and the
Who the fuck can get that high, dude? And still be able to fucking breathe, bro. Just drop some fucking corpse in there and fuck around and be down there with them torpedoed the fuck out, bro. What the hell?
water levels drop, it's revealed that there are at least 300 skeletons laid out in this water. Now this has scientists baffled. Why are there so many corpses in one spot? Some people think this could have been a mass sacrifice. A horde of people were taken up there and some of them were sacrificed for some sort of religion. Or maybe this was a place a local tribe would take infected people as a plague passed through. There's also the chance that these 300 people were some sort of nomadic tribe that was traveling through the area and stopped to rest but then got caught in a snowstorm. Whatever it was, we have no idea to this day. And coming in number 8, we have how the universe will end. So if the Big Bang is real and everything came from one singular point and the universe is always expanding, there's a chance that this could all end eventually. There's nothing that we know in the universe to be infinite except for maybe the universe, but the only reason we could think that the universe could be infinite is because we don't have the technology to see to the end of it. Now let's say the universe does have an end and at one point it's all going to come crashing in. How will this happen? There are some theories floating around. One of them is the universe will literally be ripped apart from the inside out. If you don't know, dark matter makes up about 85% of the matter in the universe, or so it's thought. Now this matter basically fills up the void. We can't see it, but we're pretty sure it's there. And when I say we, I mean people much smarter than me. Well, there is a theory that there will be so much of this stuff floating around eventually that will push everything away and the universe will begin to get ripped apart. The other idea is the
If you're still grinding on Twitch, you're missing out on something big. Just a couple months into kick streaming, the 95.5 subsplit allowed me to pay my bills while also embracing my true passions, playing live music and playing video games. If streaming is a passion that you have, there's a stage for you right here on
big crunch, that the universe will fall onto itself. Basically, the universe is constantly expanding. So what if that stops and everything starts to move the other way and the whole universe compresses onto itself until it's all pressed down like a piece of luggage with too much stuff in it, and then it could maybe explode out again like the Big Bang. Coming in at number 7, we have what is gravity? See, we actually know a lot about gravity. We know how it works. We know that it keeps things stuck on the planet. We know that gravity from the moon affects the tides, and we know that black holes have such strong gravitational pull that light and time bends inside of them, and if you were to get sucked into one, the gravity would be so strong that your atoms would get ripped apart. If we're making a list of ways that I do not want to die, this is high on that list. Now, even though we know all these things about gravity, we have no idea why these things happen. We don't know what is causing things to stick to the planet or why there is no gravity in space. I mean, we do have some theories. It seems that gravity has some relation to mass. The heavier something is, the more its gravitational pull. But the question still turns to be, why is this happening? Coming in at number 6, we have Amazonian geoglyphs. If you're unfamiliar with the term geoglyph, these things are basically massive markings in the ground that sometimes look like symbols, they sometimes look like maps, or sometimes they just look like art. Different geoglyphs have popped up all over the world, and the Amazonian ones are some of the most impressive. There are hundreds of them that span through Brazil and Bolivia. media. Some of them are simple circles and the others look like more complex drawings. Now the question is, why are these things here? There are a few theories. Some people think these could have been meeting places laid down in the dirt. They could have been ceremonial, or they could have just all been art. But even if scientists found out why they made these areas, the question then becomes how. There haven't been many tools that would show how they were able to create these kind of markings. Personally, I think it was for sure all aliens. I mean, I don't actually think that, but it's always fun to cough up aliens for anything we don't understand. Like, where does my poop go after I flush it? That's for sure aliens. Who votes on who wins the Oscars? That's aliens. All right, guys, coming in number 5, we have cows are the way. Here's something very strange that scientists have been able to document and have no idea why it happens. So there's some satellite imagery of cows all over Europe and America, and it would seem that many of them are lined up with the North and South Pole. For some reason, these creatures always line their bodies up with the magnetic poles of this planet, and we have no idea why. And this isn't just a small group of cows in each area. It was over 70% of the cows that were monitored that were doing this. For some reason, cows have an internal compass that is much stronger than ours. This must be similar to how salmon are always able to work their way back to the same mating place every year. Like, how do they know how to do this? Well, they just do. This could be some sort of navigation things cows have gained from being transported in herds, or maybe all bovines have this ability but it just hasn't been monitored yet. Or maybe cows are just like salmon and they have a secret cow mating land that we don't know about, where cows migrate to every year and fall in love and make more cows. Coming at number 4, we have time travel. Can we speed this one up already? Let's get this time travel going. I want to shake things up in the timeline a little bit. Like, what if I went back in time and made people in the 1800s listen to EDM? Do you think they would like it? Do you think it would be pretty wild? Or would they just burn me at the stake for being a witch? I don't know. It could be either or. But even though movies have told us forever that this is something we should be doing, science still says it's a no-go. Even Stephen Hawking has said that it's impossible. But we'll see. We'll see when I'm riding a dinosaur and I'm king of the cave people. Coming in at number 3, we have what are ghosts? Now, we make a lot of spooky content on this channel, so it should be no surprise that some of our viewers are believers in ghosts. And even though scientists aren't hard at work trying to prove or disprove ghosts, there have been some pretty strange things caught on camera and thousands of stories of people saying they've encountered some sort of spiritual being. Even though you can't always trust what people say, I find some of the footage of ghostly things happening compelling. I don't believe in ghosts, but I acknowledge that there have been some weird things caught on camera that we have no explanation for. Is it ghosts? I don't know. Is it something else? I have no idea. Am I going to do the research to find out what it is? Absolutely not. Coming in at number 2, we have the Fermi Paradox. There has to be life somewhere in the universe, right? There has to be a planet somewhere that has their version of Friends where the whole cast is spiders. Now, the Fermi Paradox is that while it seems logical that there should be some life somewhere in the universe, why have we not been able to make contact with any known aliens yet? Now, there's a lot of theories as to why this could be happening, and let's go through them. The one that most of you are probably thinking right now is that we have made contact with aliens, but they're being kept secret from us, that only a few people in history have been the chosen ones that get to talk to the aliens. There's the theory that the universe is so large that even though some race of aliens out there is much more advanced than us, they're still too far away to make contact with us. There's also the thought that intelligent life might come and go faster than who's the latest most popular pop star, and the fact that we've been able to make it this far is actually an anomaly in the universe. So any of these could be true, or it could be the sad truth that we're all alone in the universe, and that's just no fun. Coming at the number 1 spot, we have how life started. Yeah, we don't know how this happened. There are a ton of theories about this, but even those are mostly about how life on Earth started. There's the idea of the primordial soup, which I'm sure you've heard of. There was a bunch of different molecules mixing together until the right combination hit just right, and you got the first living thing ever. There's the idea that even though we are mostly built from DNA, that the first few life forms constructed were mostly RNA. There's also the idea that a meteor with some life on it came from deep space and might have crashed into our planet and brought with it the means to create life on this planet. But even with some of the brightest eggheads in the world trying to crack the code on this one, we still have no idea how this happened. How we went from being loose molecules to having food shipped right to our door and left there so you can crawl out of your hovel and choke it down like some sort of basement goblin.
Starting off this list, in our number 10 spot, we have the hero ant. This is a type of ant that was officially classified in 2014. These ants nest in the ground or in rotten wood, and they were found in Madagascar. The name of these ants comes from this wild technique they have when it comes to an intruder who is invading their territory. Of course, these ants feel a duty to protect their home and their colony, so what do when someone threatens their safety? Well, they grab a hold of the intruder and throw them and themselves off of the ant equivalent of a cliff. So far, it seems like they are the only species that willingly throws themselves off of cliffs, but hey, it earned them the name of a hero, so maybe it was all worth it. Somehow these ants are able to pick themselves up after the fall and get right back to work.
Yeah.
In our number 9 spot today,
They could have did a better stunt double for the Rock in that one. That dude looked nothing like the fucking Rock, bro.
we have Salazars Pit Viper. This new green pit viper species was discovered in 2019 and finally classified in 2020. It was first found in the Himalayas and was actually one of 5 new reptile species found in the area that year. If you're a Harry Potter lover, this one might be obvious, but the snake was named after the Harry Potter character Salazar Slytherin. The snake features a dark green head and yellowish green dorsal scales throughout the rest of its body. The males and females of this species have different physical characteristics, with the males having yellow, orange, and reddish-orange stripes with a rust-colored tail, which is something that is not seen on the females.
Snake, bro.
The snakes are nocturnal and are often found coiled around shrubs at night. Currently, their habitat is under threat due to developments such as road widening, agriculture, and hydroelectric projects. Not to mention the current plans to build a 49-kilometer-long road that cuts directly through their habitat. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Emperor Dumbo octopus. These guys are a new species.
This is what veterans are doing to increase their disability rating.
2 of the conditions, they had me rated at like 20%.
Species of Dumbo octopus that was discovered just last year. It was discovered in the Emperor Seamounts in the North Pacific Ocean, just off of the coast of Japan. The location of the discovery is where they got their name from, which I thought was important to include because when I first heard their name, I thought it meant that they were huge, which was initially a little concerning. There is actually only one of these species that has ever been found, which was the single specimen that was used to confirm this discovery. Because the specimen was found alive and was the only one we've located, scientists were thankfully careful to use only non-invasive techniques to identify it, which included micro-CT scans and 3D imaging. These techniques ensure that the little guy could continue living his life while we can also learn more about it, which truly is the best of both worlds. The one we found was located at a depth of around 3,900 to 4,400 meters in the ocean. In our number 7 spot today, we have the deadly sponge. To be perfectly honest, sea sponges have always kind of creeped me out. Like, they're just so different, and it's crazy that they really are alive. But this newly discovered species of sea sponges takes things to a whole new level. These sponges, to something like a shrimp, would probably look like a lovely place to take a little rest stop, but upon closer examination, they are hiding a deadly little secret. While most sea sponges filter water that they flush through their bodies and get nutrients from all of the single-celled organisms that pass through, these species of sea sponges, announced in 2014, have decided that they need a little something more. That's right, these sea sponges are carnivores. These sponges feature these tiny little microscopic hooks on them that act like Velcro for that unsuspecting shrimp. Once snagged by the sponge, after a few hours, the sponge's cells will start to engulf and digest it, and within a few days, all that will be left is an empty shell. Definitely one of those circle of life things, but still, it's a little macabre to be perfectly honest. In our number 6 spot today, we have the pine Rockland trapdoor spider. Maybe not terrifying to scientists, but definitely terrifying to me. This spider has a bit of an interesting discovery story. This spider species was actually discovered in 2012, but it wasn't really researched and found out to be a new spider species until last year in 2021. When this spider was originally found, it was located by a staff member at the Miami Zoo who was inspecting reptile research traps. When this staff member was unable to identify this spider based on the existing records of spiders in the area, they knew that they had found something unusual. 2 years later, another one of these spiders was found and looked at by experts in the field. Rebecca Godwin, who is a PhD, who is the assistant professor of biology at Piedmont College in Demorest, Georgia, was able to confirm that this spider was in fact a previously undescribed species. After years of research, she was able to officially identify it as a new species similar to a tarantula. This discovery was extremely exciting as it came from an endangered piece of forest that is located in the middle of a city. Researchers have explained that this is just one of the many reasons why it is so important that we work to preserve these kinds of areas so that we don't lose the things we do know, but also those that we don't yet. In our number 5 spot today, we have the deepwater snapper. This new fish belongs to a small genus of bottom-dwelling fish that are absolutely massive. There were previously 3 different species belonging to the genus, but this one marks the 4th. The newer discovered one is seemingly identical to one of the other already discovered species, with the same bright pink color, the same usual ocean depth of around 200 to 400 meters, and they're also both usually found in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. But despite all of this, the genetics of these fish are actually different. The new species also has a few small physical details that set it apart from the others, such as smaller eyes and a black spot on the tip of its upper tail fin. It is believed that this fish had previously been misidentified as the other similar species, and since these fish are usually caught on the same fishing line, this new distinction is incredibly important for fisheries because each fish species needs to be managed differently. The fish was named in honor of Dr. Brian Bowen, who is a researcher at the University of Hawaii, who has spent over 3 decades of his life dedicated to studying marine fish. In our number 4 spot today, we have the false gecko. This is definitely among the smallest of the creatures on this list, measuring at just 42 to 52 millimeters long. These little guys were found on the southeastern tip of the main island of the Philippines, Luzon. Their scientific name comes from their tendency to hide in hollow areas such as logs. They have inverted Y-shaped markings along their entire tail, as well as golden yellow colored eyes, which apparently are reflective. Previous to the discovery of this new false gecko, there were 9 other known species of false geckos, all of which are endemic to the Philippines. Because of their small size, their tendencies to hide, and their camouflage abilities, these little guys are extremely difficult to find, which is definitely part of the reason they are such a new discovery. One of the researchers on the team of scientists who discovered this new species explained that this new discovery just might create a greater appreciation for the biodiversity in the Philippines and will hopefully prompt a better management of the wilderness areas located there. Researchers are currently worried that this brand new species might be close to extinction due to habitat loss. In our number 3 spot today, we have marsupial frogs. These guys were discovered in 2021 and they were found in a protected part of the Amazon rainforest. It is estimated that there is the highest concentration of undiscovered animals in the Amazon, so it really makes sense that we would find a new species here. These frogs feature a green color and they have a coarse, granular, and patternless dorsal skin. They have turquoise colored eyes and their venter doesn't have any sort of splotches, specks, or dots. I'm not gonna lie, I had to look up what a venter is, but I guess it's just like the belly area of the frog. You know, the more you know. Yeah. These guys are called marsupial frogs because the females hold eggs in a closed dorsal pouch, which is similar to that of like a kangaroo or other kinds of marsupial animals. In our number 2 spot today, we have the Enigma moth. This is a type of moth that was discovered back in 2015, and it is regarded as quite an exciting discovery, to be quite honest. While I personally hate moths, this one even has me feeling alright about it. On Kangaroo Island, which is in South Australia, it was discovered that the island, which has been settled since 1836, was holding an insect species that was entirely unknown to science. When these moths were found, they were realized to have more primitive features, so scientists had a job to figure out just how primitive. Turns out these guys are kinda like a living fossil. Even the most primitive moths we know of have jaws. A sign of a more recent moth is that of a tongue, but this newly discovered moth species has neither a tongue nor a jaw. All in all, this discovery is said to have been one of the most exciting in entomology in the last 40 years. One of the reasons these moths might have been hard to pin down is because their adult lives are lived in one single day. In one day they emerge from their cocoon, mate, reproduce, and then die. Definitely a jam-packed day, that's for sure. In our number 1 spot today, we have the bone house wasp. Well, really all
Come
you
out,
need to
get
know
your
about
first
this one
piece
is
of
in
tail,
its name.
and
These
then you
wasps
out
were
this
discovered
world.
in southeast China in 2014, and their scientific name was inspired by graveyard bone houses or ossuaries. This is because the females of this species, after they lay eggs, will riddle their home with dead ant corpses. Yeah, not exactly the same sort of nesting I was expecting, but hey, to each their own. Of course, this is thought to potentially make their nest less vulnerable to predators, and the smell of the dead ants might even fully deter them and completely.
Guys, my inbox was full of desperate people after I showed them the income app. I'm here on vacation, but I decided
camouflage the nest. All in all, while it is of course a survival tactic, it's also quite a gruesome thought.
Number 10, the Raven's Paradox. Okay, you may have heard of this one before. It's also referred to as the Hempel's Paradox. It was first proposed in the 1940s from a German logician. Always a fun magicians and logicians, a lot of ishins in this one. Always a promising start. The Raven Paradox begins with a singular true statement, as most of these do. The statement here is that all ravens are black. Remember that. Got it? Great. Now, what follows here in the world of paradoxes is a contrapositive statement. For example, Hempel then makes a statement saying that everything that is not black is not a raven. Now, both of these things are true in this degree of things, right? Hempel believes that whenever we see a raven, it will be black, providing support for his initial statement. That's not going anywhere, right? Keep that in the back of your head. But then when we see something that isn't black, like a banana, we use that first statement to back this up. The banana is definitely not black, therefore it's for sure not a raven. This paradox Hempel sprung upon us provides evidence, even if it's totally unrelated, that ravens are black. He's pushing the limits with how far one statement can go. Also, this is 1 out of 10 paradoxes, so if you're already confused, buckle up, because my brain already hurts. And I wrote the thing. Number 9, Galileos Paradox of the Infinite. Okay, we're already getting into numbers, and we're only at point number 9. Lovely. Back in 1638, Galileo proposed a mathematic paradox. It was in his final written work and discourses and mathematical demonstrations relating to the 2 new sciences. It goes new moon, that one, and then eclipse. You really gotta, quite the page turner, that one. But in it, Galileo proposed this paradox based on the relationship between sets of numbers. Like for example, we have square numbers, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, so on and dan forth. But we also have the other group, the non-square numbers, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So now the total of square numbers must be less than the total of non-square and square numbers combined, because every positive number has to have a corresponding square, and vice versa. So there really can't be more than one or the other. So Galileo concludes that concepts like more, less, or fewer, those can only work with finite sets of numbers. So when your little sibling says, nuh-uh infinity, and then you try and one-up them by saying, nuh-uh infinity squared, buddy, you're out. Little bro gets shotgun. See ya. Number 8, the Crocodile Paradox.
Alright, y'all, man. We go call this. That's pretty interesting. Man, I'll catch y'all. We about to come right back.